So if
Yep.
I can help you, if there's some knowledge in my mind, right? If there's some life lesson that I went through and I can help you with that, so you don't have to go through that, because trust me, it hurts when you go through it.
Right. Oh yeah.
Versus learning it from somebody else who already went through it, right? So I feel like the more people I can help to reach their goals, the more God is going to give me.
Welcome to the Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Sinkowski. Today, I have a guest. Literally, her journey started small town Romania, 2003. She came to America looking for the American dream, and she found it. But I'll tell you, it probably was not easy along the way. There's many steps along the way. Today, she sold over $80 million in real estate. In 2022, Success Magazine called her one of the top 25 most influential people. She's ranked number 16 on the top 100 Realty on Instagram in the U.S. Today, I have Gogo Bethke. Gogo, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned, the journey, it started small town Romania.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you
So
talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I was born in a town called, well, technically I'm Hungarian by nationality. And I know it's kind of, when people ask me where you're from, because they hear my accent and stuff, I never know what to say, right? Because I am not Romanian by nationality. I learned Romanian as a second language because I was born in the country called Romania, right? But I was born in a portion that's Transylvania, where most of the people are Hungarian by nationality. And Hungarian and Romanian are very different. Like our language, our religion, our looks, like everything is like night and day, right? And so I'm Hungarian by nationality. I speak Romanian as a second language. When I went to school, I went to Hungarian school. So I mean, a Romanian can tell that I'm not Romanian, right? Because I have a very strong accent, but I can definitely understand it and speak it very well. So I was born in a town called Csíkszereda. So here's the other fun thing about Europe, right, or Eastern Europe, where you have different cultures, is that my hometown has two names. So it has the Hungarian name, which is Csíkszereda, but Mércuriaciuk is the Romanian name for the same city.
Okay.
Right? So you can call it Mércuriaciuk or you can call it Csíkszereda, right? It's the same exact location. So I was born and raised in Csíkszereda. I was 21 when I moved to the US. I did go to college in Hungary. So I left, I was raised in Csíkszereda until I was 14. And then I went to another town called Székelyudvarhely. I went there for high school. So from 14 to 18, I lived in a town called Székelyudvarhely. And then from there, I went to college in another country, Hungary. So I've been a gypsy since I've been 14, right? And then I didn't finish college. I did 2.5 years in Budapest, Gödöllő, the town called Gödöllő. I did agricultural engineering. And then I realized that you can't check if a cow is pregnant with Starbucks in your hand and high heels. So I was like, this is not for me.
Right.
I don't want to, like, I just didn't. Anyway, I was a Hungarian, and because of that, we had a scholarship. And that's why I went to that college, because I got in with full scholarship and my parents couldn't afford it, to pay for college anywhere else. But it really wasn't the line of work that I saw myself in the future. I didn't want to check out if it's pregnant or not, right? And so I came to the US in 2003. I borrowed $200. I'm like, I'm going to America. And I figured, well, if it doesn't work out, I know where Romania is, so I'll just fly back home, right? I didn't know a single human being. I barely spoke English. I thought I spoke English, and then I arrived in New York, and this big guy was talking to me at the airport, and he said something, and I said, English, please. And he said, I'm speaking it. And I was like, oh, if you're speaking English, then I'm not speaking English. So first of all, I learned British English, right? So I learned the proper English, the how do you do, right, not how are you, and water, not water, those kind of things. And so it was very hard at first to learn the slang. It's still hard. 20 years in, there are still certain slangs where people use it. I'm like, I have no idea what that means, right? If you think about it, slangs are or a line from a movie or a line from a song, right? And things like, I just had this conversation not long ago with my husband. When you say talking someone off the ledge.
Yep.
Which end? The short side?
Yeah, you're right.
Or the deep side?
Yeah, hopefully.
Right, because there's two sides to that ledge.
Right.
So these kind of things, right? Like when you're a foreigner, you say certain things in English because that's how you always said it. But as a foreigner, in order to understand how to use that, talking someone off the ledge, right? I'm thinking, are we talking them to jump, or are we
Right.
talking them to jumping on the bridge, right? Like,
Right.
what does that mean, right? So I think the slang portion of it, not that it still is the hardest part to the language, is to understand when to use something. And my husband would just say, well, you just need to know when to use it. I'm like, okay, well, if you don't understand what it means, how do you know when to plug it into a conversation, or which conversation would it fit into, right? So
Right.
I'm still working on my level of English.
And I think that would kind of take like a certain amount of experience, right, over the years to understand, like, this is a situation where you'd use that slang or that term or something, right? So you're going to have to just experience. You're not going to learn it overnight. So I would ask, like, knowing multiple languages, has that been beneficial for you? Like, once leaving Romania, let's just say in the real estate industry, has that ever helped you make a sale or really connect with somebody in a situation because you knew another language?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so beneficial to know another language. It's almost like I have multiple brains and they can function at a different time. So I think, like, I'm the world's best multitasker. Like, I can literally hold a conversation with my parents. They're actually here right now. I can hold a conversation with them in Hungarian and type in an English email at the same time, two totally different conversations, two totally different subjects. And it's like I'm accessing a different part of my brain, which also in the same time, it allows me to multitask better, right?
Right.
So I think it's so beneficial to know another language in so many different ways to train your brain to function in different scenarios, right? But to answer, yeah, of course. I mean, I have Hungarian clients, I have Romanian clients, I have clients of other cultures just because I'm an immigrant and they are an immigrant, right? But also I feel like even with Americans, they just like change of breath of fresh air, right? Like, it's just something different, right? And yeah, I think it's just, if anything, it helped me. And also when you live your life on social media, right? And I do videos and everybody knows me, right? That follows me kind of knows me. I feel like it's easier to get away with when you say something stupid. I can get away with it, right? I can get away with it because they'll blame it on my accent versus blame it on my maybe not being educated, right?
Right.
So I think it's more beneficial to have an accent because you can get away with murder versus someone who speaks one language. Then you say something stupid, they're like, well, you're stupid, versus me is like, oh, what she meant to say is this, right? So I can get away with murder, I feel like.
Okay. How do you stay motivated in times of, say, diversity or adversity, excuse me? How do you keep yourself motivated and really keep pushing forward? I'm sure there had to have been, like, your upbringing, there's something, going through school or realizing, hey, this isn't for me. How do you kind of change, and how do you keep that motivation in times of adversity?
Yeah. What do you call adversity? I just want to make sure I understand.
A difficult situation. Because, I think this is a lot of, it'll speak to any generation, but I think a lot of, we kind of spoke earlier, but a lot of younger people, they think, it's going to be straight to the goal, right? You're just, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be
I like to call that business, building businesses, it's like a spaghetti. Not an uncooked spaghetti, because an uncooked spaghetti is a straight line, right?
Right.
Let's imagine all the spaghettis in the bowl cooked, and then you take it out and it's like this, right? It's just like spaghetti everywhere. So business is like that. I feel life is like that, right? It's not a straight line. It's a lot of cooked spaghettis. But I think as soon as you realize, the faster you realize that life is happening for you, not to you, the faster you realize when something's happening, you need to take a step back, right? And analyze it and say, and it's 11:11, by the way, and that is God telling me that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. So pretty much as soon as you realize that, the way I look at it is, if something's happening to you, then you need to take a step back and say, okay, God, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Right.
Because it's a lesson. Everything in life is a lesson, and it's going to keep happening to you until you freaking learn it. I like to say that God will throw you pebbles, just little pebbles. And if you don't listen to the pebbles, he's going to throw a brick, and the brick is going to hurt.
Right.
Right. So
yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah, so it's like I'm what I'm trying to say with this is just listen to the pebbles. When something is happening in your life, question it. Why? What is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn from this? Because trust me, you haven't learned the lesson. That's why it's happening. And the faster you learn it, the faster that's never going to happen to you again, right? Or if it does happen to you again, you know exactly what to do because you've been there, done that. How to get yourself out of the situation. And then also, I mean, don't get me wrong, I go through phases when I'm unmotivated or I have negative thoughts. And again, I'm going to quote Tony Robbins. He said, Tony Robbins is a huge influence in my life. He says that my brain is not going to tell me what we are doing today. I'm going to tell my brain what we are doing today. Right. So your brain is a billion-year-old brain or multi-billion-year-old brain, right? It's here to protect you. It's here to stop you from jumping, because if you jump, you're going to hurt yourself. Right. So you're going to have these little monkeys on your shoulders telling you constantly what not to do. Don't do that. You're going to get hurt. Don't do that. What if it doesn't work out? Don't do that. It's dangerous. Don't do that. Right. Now you have to have a stronger will than your brain. Your brain, just always know that your brain is always going to protect you. It's going to tell you, the little monkey is going to tell you to not do it. Right. And you just have to have a stronger will. You need to know where you're going. I think the issue is that most people don't stop to even think or write down what they want from life. Right. So they're on a hamster wheel. Yeah. They're definitely going. They're running like a freaking hamster on the wheel. Right. But they're going nowhere because there's not an end destination. So I feel like if you can figure out, not I feel like I know, if you know where you're at and you know where you're going, we all have an internal GPS. And the GPS, I call it God or universe. You call it whatever you want it, right? Mm-hmm. Gut feeling, higher power, Mother Nature, whatever you call it. That will guide you. It will take you where you want to go. But A, you have to acknowledge where you're at. And B, where you're going.
Right.
And you have to give your goals an end date. So if it's money, you say, okay, I made $43,000 this year and I want to make $150,000 this year, right? Whatever that number is. Then you say, okay, and I want to make it by December 31st. Now the universe will conspire and you'll be in your favor. The universe will show, okay, here's Johnny, little Johnny right here. Little Johnny wants to go right here. What are the paths? Just like imagine when you get into the car, right? The only reason your GPS know where you're at is because of that satellite, because of that higher power, right? If you think about it, is that thing up there in the sky, right? That knows where you're at. So you know where you're at, you get into the car, you know where you're at, you turn the device on, right? And you say, I want to go here, right? And that device says, okay, you have a few options. You can take the highway, you can take the back roads, you can take dirt roads, you can take a bike, or you can walk it, right? Depending which one you end up choosing, it has an end time of how long it's going to take to get there, right? But life gives you a choice as long as you know where you're at and where you're going. And it's going to say, these are your options. This is the fastest route. It's probably more work and more risk, right? And this is the slowest route. Right? Less risk, going to take longer time, whatever you feel comfortable between the two, but you're going to get to the end destination as long as you know what your end destination is.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that. So you have your starting point, you have your end point, and you have all that stuff in between. How do you know you're doing the right thing? Does it matter that you have that you have all that laid out in the beginning, or is it, hey, this is where I want to go, and I'll kind of slowly start to figure out those things that I need to do to get there?
So what's right for me might be wrong for you. This is why God gives you a choice, right? Just like the GPS gives you a choice. Do you want to walk it? Do you want to ride a bike? Do you want to take a car? Do you want to take a bus and public transportation? Do you want to order an Uber? Right? Give you options, right? So the question is, where do you feel most comfortable with? Now, I can tell you that my risk tolerance is probably much higher than the average person. That's why I have what I have today, right? Because one of my favorite saying is that if you want to have what the top 1% has, you have to do what 99% is not willing.
Yeah. Yep. And it can't be just it can't be just something you say. It's got to be something that you take action and you actually do it. Right.
Exactly. I can't sit here and wish myself to buy an iPhone at Best Buy today. I actually have to get up, get in the car, go to Best Buy, put it in the GPS, take my card with me and go pay for it. End of the day, I have an iPhone, right? I use that explanation because I literally just looked at my parents don't buy an iPhone. So whatever you set out for that goal to be, you have to have a deadline. By when? Because if you don't, the universe is going to be like, again, Tony Robbins says, most people say, I just want to make more money. Okay.
Right.
$1 is more money, and you're going to be 94 years old and you're going to make $1 more than you made today. right? So you have to say, this is what I want, and this is by the time I want it by, right? And then you're going to get to your end destination. It's really that simple. But also some people confuse the universe, and some people say, hey, I did 43,000 this year. I want to do 150. No, but that's a little hefty. So if I get to 100, I'll be fine. I'll be happy. I'll be happy at 100, right?
Yeah.
So then the universe says, okay, so do you want 100 or do you want 150? What the do you want?
Right.
Right. So
Yep.
be crystal clear what you want, even if that feels unreachable. I remember the first time I said, I want to have $250,000 cash in our bank account, cash, $250,000 cash.
Yep. Yep.
To me at the time, you're in $89,000 credit card debt. So not only that I was negative almost 100,000, I put a goal of $250,000 cash in my bank account. To my brain was impossible at that time. Because if I had that money, I would have paid my debt off. Right. I didn't have the money. That's why I was in debt.
Right.
So not only then I had to make up 250,000, but that was positive after I paid off an $89,000 credit card debt. It seemed impossible. But I forced my brain to see it. Because if you can't see it, you can't have it. You're not ready. Which means now you have to teach your brain to even see the possibility of that. Right? So then I was, okay, if I can't feel the feeling of what it feels like to have $250,000 in my bank account, then I'm going to sit my ass, excuse my French, down on the beach, and I'm going to meditate until my cute little brain can see that with my third eye. Right. And if I can see it, if you can see it, you can have it. You just have to teach yourself that feeling, just like you taught yourself the feeling what it's like to be broke, and that became your comfort zone over time. You can teach yourself what it's like to be wealthy.
So once again, you're saying it's like it's training your brain. So you're telling your brain what you're going to do, and not it tell you what you're going to do, right? Because it's basically kind of like a computer program. It's going to keep telling you do this, do this, do this until you say, nope, I'm doing this. But then you have to be consistent, hourly, daily, weekly, right?
Got it.
Now, how do you, like, you talked about multitasking and stuff. How do you prioritize or say deal with time? Because, you know, in this busy life, people want to, they got this, they got that, they're trying to manage it all. How do you find the ability to manage that time and that workload without stressing yourself out and being able to focus?
Well, that's very simple. Number one, you need to have help. So I don't even know, probably 14 assistants. I don't know, I lost count. In each of my businesses, I have an executive assistant, and then my assistants have assistants. So it's a process, right? Number one, but number two, you need to know your hourly rate. You need to know, if I'm doing this, this is how much money I make. And if I'm doing this, this is how much money I don't make. Right? Because not all activities makes you money. So as soon as you figure out what your hourly rate is, which is very simple, take your last year income, the total of your last year income, and divide it by 2,080. That's about the amount of hours that you worked if you worked full time, 8 hours a day. And then you get an hourly rate. Whatever that hourly rate is, let's say it's $25 an hour, or if you know what you make in an hour, right? I mean, in positions like mine where we are commission based, we don't really make an hourly, right? But I need to know what I make hourly in order to know, is this activity worth my time or not? So after you calculate your hourly rate, you're going to look at your calendar and you're going to say, okay, well, first of all, you need to have a calendar.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Most step number one.
Most people don't even have a calendar. Right. So number one, you have to have a calendar. Number two, after you calculated your hourly rate, you're going to look at that calendar and you're going to say, okay, does this activity, each activity, you're going to go line by line by line by line. You say, does this activity make me that money in that hour? If not, you need to stop doing it right now, or you need to hire it out. Some activities you can stop doing it, like paying your taxes. Does that make you money? No, it doesn't. Does it have to get done? Yes, it does. Does it have to get done by you? No, it doesn't. But hire a bookkeeper, hire an administrative assistant who can do all that nitty-gritty every day, right? So number one, know your hourly rate, have a calendar, and then go through that calendar and make sure that you only do things from now on that makes you that much money in that hour, or it needs to come off your calendar, or it needs to be done by somebody else.
All right. So we're kind of talking about like value added and non-value added kind of things. Like, is it bringing value to your life? And if it's not, then you need to kind of outsource that or find somebody else to do that activity for you.
Exactly. Because if you think about it, if you don't hire it out, so let's say it's bookkeeping, right? Let's say your bookkeeper is going to ask you, I have no idea. I have no idea what bookkeepers charge. I have an in-house person. So what do you think a bookkeeper charges?
Let's just say $20 an hour for sake of argument, just an easy round number.
Let's say $20 an hour, okay?
Yep.
So if, let's say your hourly rate, like my hourly rate is $2,300 an hour, okay?
Yep.
Now, if I don't hire a bookkeeper, that means I am the bookkeeper, right? So every time I'm doing bookkeeping activities, I am doing a $20 an hour task. So I can hire it out and pay $20. And in that same hour, as long as you promise to yourself that you're not sipping mimosas poolside.
Right.
But in that hour, you actually go and make that $2,300. That's your hourly rate, right? Now you can say, okay, I'm making $2,300. I'm spending $20. So technically, I'm making $2,280.
Right.
But if I'm not hiring this person, I'm losing $22,280 every hour. I am not hiring bookkeeping out. Because if I am doing bookkeeping, I am not making $2,300. I'm making $20.
That's pretty profound. And I think when people start to think about it like that, sorry, go ahead.
Most people will look at it as it's a $20 expense versus look at it, it's a $2,280 loss.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, like I said, that's profound. I think when you start shifting that mentality and you think about it that way, that's when you'll start being more successful and you understand managing, I guess, money and expenses and stuff like that, right?
You have to learn to leverage yourself.
Right. And to know what your value is.
Yes.
I want to go back to kind of the choices. You kind of talked about choices and you mentioned your family. And I saw on Instagram, I think it was kind of recently, you talked about a saying that your father would tell you all the time when you said you wanted to go to the club.
Hold on, I'll show you.
Can you share that story?
Yeah, I think the t-shirt is right down here. Let me see if I have one. I just wore one a couple of days ago. I don't know if I have another one. No, I don't. Bummer. But it's pretty much I don't. It's pretty much a saying. So I was trying to go party with these kids back when I was living in Romania.
Right.
And my dad looked at me and he goes, I asked him if I can go party with these kids. And he looked at me and he said, oh, honey, it's your own life. You can fuck it up however you want to. So today I have a t-shirt that it says, it's your own life. You can fuck it up however you want to. And I do live my life by that because every decision you make is going to affect your life. Every action has a consequence, right? It's very simple. It's physics law, right? And as fast as you realize that everything is going to benefit or hurt you, right, because of the decision that you made, the faster you're going to be able to take responsibility for that action, right? And then make the right decision. So everybody where we are in life, we are there because of the decisions that we have made in our life. Right. It's really that simple. And the faster you take responsibility and you realize, oh, clearly I haven't learned that lesson, right? The faster you're going to go learn it and then take yourself to the next level. So I pretty much live my life by that, you know, make the right choices for you and you'll be where you want to be.
Right. And, you know, even if you make the right choices, there's going to be times that you have a failure, I'm sure. You know, people think like, you know, like, oh, she's never failed before. Look, like she's perfect. And it's like, no. Can you talk about like maybe a big failure in your life that's really been beneficial or it's helped you grow in your life?
I mean, I don't think I look at things as failures. I look at them as lessons.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
Right.
There is no, I mean, you can look at the light bulb situation, right? Who was it? Anderson that said that I don't know if the listeners know this, but he has tried to build a light bulb over 1,000 times. So he failed over 1,000 times. So you and me can have light bulbs today, right? But when they asked him, he said they asked him how, you know, his thoughts about the 1,000 failures, and he said they weren't failures. There was 1,000 ways that did not work.
Right. Yeah.
So I look at the things that did not work in my life, not as failures, it's just a way that it did not work for me. Now you can look at it a couple of times. Did it not work? Or a couple different ways. Did it not work because I didn't give it my all? Did it not work because maybe it worked, but it just wasn't enough? So for example, for me, I'm shutting down one of my companies. And you would think, oh, well, that's a failure. You started a company and you're shutting it down, right? I actually shut down 2 last year, but I also started 9 companies. So right I was really bored during COVID and I got great ideas and I built companies. So you could look at it, maybe an outsider will look at it, well, that was a failure. So she doesn't have 9 companies, now she has 7, right? But the way I look at it is, again, let's go back to that, how much money I make in an hour, right? Just because something is a good idea for somebody else, if somebody else was running this company, it was profitable. It's just not the type of profitable that I roll out of bed for.
Right.
But for somebody else, if the hourly rate is lower, they probably would have made more money with it. So now the way you need to think about it is, if you have choices, which eventually you will, when you have choices, if should I do this or should I do that? Now I am more than happy to shut a company down, because if I have to spend, watch this, if it takes me 8 hours a week to work in this company, and that company is going to make a weekly, I don't know, $1,000 profit, I worked 8 hours for $1,000. Okay, versus I can work here and I work 1 hour for 2,300.
Right.
So do I work 8 hours for 1,000 or 1 hour for 2,300? This in a month, this is still $4,000 a month. For somebody, that's a full-time job you can do from home. Right. I built a company that you could do from home for full-time, right? It's just not worth my time. So I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as I learned a lesson. I learned a lesson. Just because something is a good idea, if you jump on all of your good ideas, you're not going to have time for the great ideas.
Right.
The good is the enemy of great. You might have it good, but you could have it great if you just kept that time that the good takes from you and invested it into the great.
And it's about perspective too. Like you're saying, like you're not looking at it as a failure, but as a lesson. And then you can use that lesson to go forward and to be more successful, instead of looking at it as kind of like in the negative sense, I guess you could say.
Exactly. Everything you do is a lesson.
How do you find your purpose, or what's your definition of a purpose? If there's somebody they're not really sure, like, this is not, I don't think this is for me. Like you can't stand there with a Starbucks cup and, check a pregnant cow, right? When you're in agricultural engineering, right? So, but what is a way for somebody to really find that purpose? Like, because some people are like, hey, I'm 20 years old and I haven't figured it out all yet. How do you find that purpose in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had, I remember back in school and the teacher would ask you, like, oh, what are you going to be when you grow up? And all of these kids were like, I'm going to be a ballerina, and I'm going to be a vet, and I'm going to be a pilot, and I'm going to be a doctor, and I'm going to be a CP. And I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to be. Because I have the personality that I get interested about things, and then I research and I go to the end of Google and I go to YouTube and I interview people and I shadow people and I do all of my research. And as soon as I figure it out, I'm over it. And then I'm interested about something else. I've never had the personality that I can stick it out with something for an extended period of time, because when I get interested about something, I give it all I got to figure it out. And as soon as I figure it out, I'm bored.
Right.
So I want to do something else. So all of the people out there, they feel like they don't have it figured out what they want to be when you grow up. You're totally fine. I'm 41 years old. I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up, but I'm doing just fine.
That's a good mentality, right? You're not grown up yet.
Not grown up yet.
Right? You're always growing.
When I grow up, maybe by then I'll know. But I think find things in the same sentence. There's this saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
So find that thing that you're so excited, you jump out of bed and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I get to do this again. And I get to work with these people and I get to go here and I get to do this. Not have to, get to.
Exactly. I noticed that you said that. And I was going to say that's got to be something that you've told yourself on a daily basis, because people will say, I have to go to work. I have to do this. And you're saying, I get to do it. And that's changing your perspective and your whole mindset. Right.
Yes. I get to do this. I am so lucky that I get to do this and I get paid for it. And then the other quote that changed my life is a Zig Ziglar quote that says that you can have absolutely anything in life, the more people you help to get what they want. So if I can help you, if there's some knowledge in my mind, right? If there's some life lesson that I went through and I can help you with that, so you don't have to go through that, because trust me, it hurts when you go through it.
Right. Oh yeah.
Versus learning it from somebody else who already went through it, right? So I feel like the more people I can help to reach their goals, the more God is going to give me. And it's really just coming from the prosperity mindset, is that there's enough for all of us. There's more than enough for all of us in this world. Like
Right.
for me, having my goals and my dream life created, it doesn't take away from yours. We can all live our dream life.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, you look at major companies and there's Coca-Cola, there's Pepsi, there's all types of soda, right? So if somebody say, hey, I want to do real estate. Nope, can't do it. Gogo already does it. She's going to be better than me and I can't do it. It's not my thing. You're like, no, there's enough pie for everybody, right? And that kind of speaks to, I wanted to ask you about collaboration, helping people, but then collaborating. Do you think that has helped you out at all, collaborating with other people on other, projects, or just in your business itself?
Oh, absolutely. Coach Bert says it is that you don't need more money. You need more people, because people have the money.
Yeah.
Right. So you're all in the people business. You think about, no matter what you're selling, if you're selling a product or a service, you need people who's going to buy that product or going to buy that service. Right. So the better you are with people, the more money you're going to make. Right. And also it comes down to being trustworthy, having a good work ethic, especially if you do things with the power of social media. You need to allow them to truly get to know you, because when they know you, they trust you. When they trust you, they'll buy anything you're selling. But that trust factor comes over time. So it comes with a lot of work that you have to put in now. So then you can earn their trust over time, and you can earn their business over time.
Right. And to the point where when you deliver what you deliver, you're delivering what you promise, and you're not just, trying to get rich quick or something. And because once you lose that trust from somebody, you'll never get it back.
Never. There's another quote, in case you haven't noticed, I live my life by quotes. There's another quote that you'll never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. And then,
so as soon as they feel like they got to know you, whatever that image is in their head, in their mind, that's their truth. That is your truth to them. And you won't be able to change that.
And it's almost impossible to change that, right? Once they have that idea. I also heard once from Tony Robbins, it's not your resources, but your resourcefulness, right? So when you're talking about people, like maybe you don't have all of those skills to do what you need to do, but if you collaborate with somebody else, they may have those skills. So it's finding the resourcefulness. You can find a way to do it if you want to do it.
And that's the same thing that I shared earlier, I think, before we started recording here, is that if you think about it, what's the difference between the people that are successful versus the one who aren't in the same situation, right? They had the same tax bracket, they had the same president, they had the same COVID, they had the same thing that happened to all of us, right? But some come out millionaires, mega millionaires, billionaires out of the same situation, and some come out broke. Why? It's the decisions.
Right. And sometimes it's that primal brain that's negative, that's trying to protect you from, dangerous things, or you're uncomfortable. You don't want to get out of that comfort zone. Right. And the other people,
even realtors, we weren't in Michigan. I'm licensed in Michigan. We weren't considered, what was the word during COVID?
Essential workers.
Essential. Yes.
Right.
So how am I going to show houses if I can't show you the house? Like, I've done it for 10 years where all I did is I took you to a house, I opened the door, I let you in, you looked around, and now I can't even leave my house, but I'm supposed to show you a house and ask you to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars without seeing it.
Right.
But if you don't become resourcefulness and adjust to what's going on, you're going to be out of business no matter what business you're in. Right? So this is where resourcefulness comes in, is that instead of looking at it, oh shit, there's a brick wall and I just run into it, you have to look at it, okay, what are the ways and I can go around this brick wall? Can I go around it? Can I climb it? Can I blow through it? I need to do something, because this brick wall has got to go. Right. Most people will stand there and stare at it. Oh shit, I have a brick wall. versus taking a couple of steps back, looking at it from different angles and say, yeah, I do have a brick wall, but what are we going to do about it? That's where resourcefulness comes in. We all got a brick wall.
Right.
All of us ran into a brick wall in 2021 and 2022, right? And some of us were like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go around it, or I'm going to climb it, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I'm going to start doing Zoom meetings. I'm going to ask the sellers to jump on Zoom, right? That's what I did. I asked the sellers, would you please jump on Zoom, or would you please FaceTime? Would you please FaceTime the buyer? I'll get the buyer's Facebook information. Would you FaceTime with them, show them the tour of the property, ask them if they want to open the closet door, right? All of these things, show them the property. If they like it, I'm going to write the offer from home. Like, there are ways to do this. You just have to be resourceful.
Yeah, that's genius to be able to do that. I mean, technology, there's almost nothing you can't do. Because I remember 20 years ago, we weren't going to do a Zoom call. We weren't going to be on a phone.
Nothing that I cannot do.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
If I want something, you can consider it done.
Right.
I will find a way. I will find the people. I will find the technology. I will find a system. I will buy an app. I will buy a course. I will go to a webinar, buy the book, follow the person, shadow the person. I will find a way. If there is no way, I will create one.
Right. You have a problem and then you'll have a solution, right?
That's it.
So shifting to kind of real estate, how would somebody even begin? I'm sure with real estate, there's going to be a lot of brick walls. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to stop. You have to get a license. And then even after that, how would somebody even begin to be an agent and really to learn to start the business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like to say this thing all the time. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Right. Right. But that applies to everything. Everything you want to be the best at it, you have to study, right? And become the best at it. So with that being said, in Michigan, I can only tell you what the laws are in Michigan. Every state is a little different, but you go to school for 40 hours and then you come out, you take an exam. If you pass it, you go and take the state exam. If you pass it, you're a licensed realtor. After that, you have to see credit hours, so many hours in each year, and they just kind of throw you in. And I like to say you're Nemo and go ahead and start swimming with the sharks. Throw you in the deep water and hope that you don't sink, right? So it is a very good industry because there is no limit, right? Like, I can make millions of dollars or make $16,000. It's really up to you and how much you're willing effort and knowledge to put into it. So with that being said, I strongly recommend it for everybody, but only to the people that have very tough skin.
Yeah.
I think they say thick skin, right?
Thick skin. That's right.
Thick skin. If you're the type of person that takes things personally, don't do it. It's a painful industry. You are going to see your best friend. You go over to have coffee and there's a yard sign in their yard and you're a realtor and it's not your yard sign. Right. Like, those things are going to happen. People that you would think that would use you, like your friends and family and cousins and aunts, and they just don't understand how the industry work, or they don't want you to know their finances, even though we don't know, and yada yada, right? It is tough. Also, there's a lot of realtors, millions, right? And you have to figure out how to earn business. So if there's somebody in your neck of the woods who's been in the industry for 20 years, why should someone choose you as a brand new rookie agent to sell their biggest asset ever? You have to think about, you're dealing with people's biggest assets, right? Right. So with taking all that in consideration, now that I painted such a beautiful picture of real estate, I think you should go and do it. Everybody. And then figure it out for yourself if this is for you or not. Yeah. The positive side of it, though, you create your own schedule. You get to write off all kinds of things, right? Of your income. You get to work your own hours, your own place. You get to design if you want to work with vacant land for $40,000 a piece, or you want to work with $2.7 million properties. You get to specialize in whatever you want to specialize in. So it's really freedom to making as much money as your little heart desires, as long as you have an entrepreneurial mindset, a good work ethic, and a thick skin. And thick skin, because I'm sure, there's got to be those times on the weekends that somebody wants to see some property and they don't show up. Oh, yeah. It could be July 4th. And you didn't go out with your friends on the lake, all these people wanting to see properties, and you stayed home and everybody's on the lake, and suddenly you get a text message, oh, sorry, let's do it tomorrow. We decided to go out on the lake. And you're like, well, now what? Everybody's already out, right? So there are things, of course, and there is no, if you think about it, people are not going to take time off of work to go look at properties. They're going to
Right.
want to do it in the evening and on the weekend. So you end up working evenings and weekends. Just assume that you will.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
when I got into real estate 12 years ago, it was very different than what it is today. We didn't have the Googles and the YouTubes, and you can YouTube anything. I mean, you can become an expert
Oh
in
yeah.
5 minutes on any subject. Just go on YouTube.
It's unbelievable the amount of information that's out there for free.
For free. And then also now the brokerages and the brokerage models are so different than when I was in real estate, or when I started in real estate, I should say. Back in the day, there was like a cap and a cut. That was it. There was no way of ownership unless you bought into a brokerage, which was very seldom they would make you partner, right? There was no way of earning your cap back because the brokerage needed to keep the lights on. Now there's a way to earn cap back. There's no way to getting profit share, revenue share. If you decided to bring other agents to the company, there's now profit share and revenue share. There was no way of partnering with other agents without them taking a big chunk of your commission, which pretty much the only way in the past that you could have partnered with me, so sad, was by joining my local team. And in return, I would take 50% of your commission, right? But then I would give you all of the knowledge and I'll turn you into a little Gogo in 6 months and then you leave me, right? So I was pretty much training my own competition in the past. Now, instead, with the eXp model, I can partner with agents. So now we are doing this real estate thing together. So my knowledge plus your knowledge, let's put it together, and I don't take a cut. So the agents don't owe me anything. So now we have what's called the Team Gogo organization at eXp, and we have over 1,000 agents in 46 different states and in 6 different countries. And they get to partner with me as long as they have a real estate license, and it costing them nothing. They don't give me a cut. They don't give me a cat. Like, they owe me absolutely nothing, but they get to go through all of my trainings and everything that we do for free.
And that's pretty much like in any state then. As long as they have a license in that state, they could be partnered with your organization.
Yes. Anywhere in the US and in 24 different countries.
Wow. Can you name all of those? No, I'm just kidding.
I can name some of them. I can probably go to 20.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 4 and I'll miss. Yeah.
You have a website with all of your information on it, and I want to share that information. I guess, would the easiest one be gogobethke.com? That's got like everything Gogo, right? The team, the boot camp, your events. What could somebody expect when they come to one of your events?
I'm a little bit of I'm a 5'2" little blondie, right? So I'm not, that doesn't sound very vicious, but I think, I think I'm a little, like a little powerhouse, right? Like I say it as I see it. I don't sugarcoat things. Sometimes I may or may not use some, F words and things like that to really emphasize something.
You have to do that sometimes.
That I'm trying to tell you, right? But I share my knowledge 100%. So whatever subject that they ask me to speak on, I will give you the truth and nothing but the truth, because when I was born, God forgot to give me a filter.
Okay.
I want to say my filter is broken, but I don't think I ever had one. So, so that's what they can. I mean, I truly share everything. I share, as I like to say, the good, bad, and the ugly. And you can see that on Gogo's Real Estate on Instagram or any other platform. If you look up Gogo Bethke or Gogo's Real Estate, this is who you get. This is who I am day in and day out, and at work, or if you meet me in person. And I bring as much knowledge as I can in whatever time they give me to squeeze into. So I get asked all the time. I narrow it down now. I only travel once a month because I'm a mom of teenage boys, and we only have a few more years with them before they leave the nest, right? So I try not to travel too much. I pretty much narrow it down for once a month, but pretty much once a month I'm traveling and speaking somewhere. So if you would like to come and see me, I would love to have you in the audience. You can always ask me anything on Instagram as well. I'm an open book.
Okay. Why don't people understand the power of social media?
I think it's a couple. It's not that they don't understand the power of social media. I think they just don't. Some people feel private and they feel like they don't want their life out there for the public to see, even though they don't realize we all have, I mean, I have skeletons in my closet. You just don't know it because I don't put that out there for you.
Right.
Like the control of what you allow people to see, it's in your hands. You only see as much of my life as I allow you to see. Right. If you look at, you barely, very seldom, if you've been following me, Chad, how many times you've seen my kids?
I haven't seen your kids that much. I don't think I've seen them at all. Yeah.
See, do I have kids? Yes, I do. Do I put them out there for the world? No, because they didn't sign up for this. It's not their life. It's this is what I do for a living. And I'm not in the business of selling children. I'm in the business
Right.
of selling real estate. So my
Mhm.
children barely make it on there. Now, if it's Christmas or Mother's Day, or we're going on a family vacation or things like that, you're going to see a little snap bit, I think
The
that's what they
snippet.
say,
Yeah, you're right.
into my life, but you get to control what you put out there for the world, right? Number
Right.
one. Number two, some people are like, well, I don't feel comfortable on camera, right? Like, oh, I don't want to sound stupid. I don't know what people are going to say. You know, I don't like the way I look and sound. My favorite is that's what you look and sound. So just get over it.
Right.
Okay. And then number two is that when they feel like, what if somebody's going to judge them, right, of what they say? And in my opinion, as I like to say, one of my other famous quotes is that I'll start caring about your opinion as soon as I can deposit it into my bank account.
That's right. That's a good one. Yeah.
So I think that's to get over. And also when people say, oh, Gogo, I don't feel comfortable getting on camera. It's hard to get on camera, right? I'm like, it's way harder to be broke.
Yeah. Yeah, you got two choices. Do you want to be broke or do you want to get on camera and maybe make some cash?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And the more you do it.
Oh my gosh. If you look at
right?
my videos from 12 years ago, God only knows what I was saying and doing, right? It's not even the same person. It's just like anything that you do, eventually you become really good at it.
Right.
You just have to do it over and over again.
Yep. One last question. How is there a way that you harness your creativity thinking new ideas? Is there a, is it going to the gym, a walk, a run, going outside? Is there a special way that you create these new ideas and think, yeah, I should do that? Or a new company?
So many, but I think I might sound very voodoo-ish over here. I do believe in the higher power. I call it God or universe. And I do believe that the better, like my husband always says of like, oh, Gogo, you have this universe thing figured out, right? I listen to it. So if God gives me most of my, like, I remember the very first time an idea coming to me in the shower, right? Like I was just doing my business. I was in the shower, right? And one thing I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a good idea. But I could tell it was like it was downloaded into my brain. Like it came from somewhere. It was not my idea. I could tell it was not my idea, but it was such a good idea. I think what happens is when you realize that there's a higher power, right? And when you tune into that and you allow it to, so said, communicate with you, the most important part after you realize there is one and you start communicating is to take action. Most people will not take action, and that's where the idea dies.
And is that fear of judgment, fear of failure, all those other things?
Yeah.
So it's just
we
keeping an
also have
open
to realize
mind.
that God gives you a choice. Again, everything that you have today is because of the choices that you made. So sometimes not making a decision is worse than making a bad one.
Right. Gogo, thank you very much.
Right? Because who knows what could have came of it if you just take an action.
Right. And the more action you take, the more opportunities are going to come versus no action at all.
Or lessons.
Right. Either
sometimes it's an opportunity, sometimes it's a lesson.
More opportunities or more lessons, but you're not going to get either one of those with no action at all. Sitting on the
couch.
Right, right. Any parting words?
I have one more. I have one more for
yes.
Dr. Wayne Dyer, because I think this is the best to close the day out with.
Yep.
He said there is people that they live 90 years, and there are people who live 1 year 90 times.
Yes, that's a good one. Quality versus quantity.
So Are you the type of person that reads the same chapter of the same book for the rest of your life? Or are you the type of person who's going to flip over to the next chapter and the next chapter and the next chapter and finish that book and start a new one?
Right. Yeah.
That's very the same chapter over and over again, living the same year 90 times or living 90 years. It's not the same.
Yeah. And unfortunately for some to realize that, they almost have to live it. They never realize it, or it's too late when they do realize that I've been reading the same chapter for the last 90 years and not.
Yeah. Do you have a life, or are you living?
Right. Very good advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope it helped. I hope
absolutely.
It helped someone on their journey.
Oh, I think it's going to. Absolutely.